Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Reviews for yet another episode. In today's episode, I'm actually going to be spicing things up, where I'm going to talk about an anime, and this was actually something I talked about a couple months ago, or I would say about 2.5 months ago at this point, where I talked about the first episode of Dan Dan, and the reason why I'm saying this is because Dan Dan Season 1 ended like tonight, or ended today, right? Ended today on Thursday, December 19th, as I'm recording this, and I actually got done watching the final episode about an hour or so ago. And the reason why I did that is because I kind of got the point of how I was personally feeling about the series. So I don't need 2 or 3 days like other things I've been reviewing to process how I felt. And so there's definitely that. And so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to condense my thoughts on every single episode so I don't bore you and so I don't just, go on and on and on and on about this series and really get to the point kind of thing. So just to give you a bit of context, right, obviously I reviewed the first episode, but I did enjoy that episode, and that's my context, is that I did enjoy episode 1, and I really felt like Dan Dan had its own unique gimmick and its own unique way of telling a story, to the point where I actually ended up watching it twice, the first episode twice, because there was so much going on. I had to replay that episode to really find out what on earth was happening. And the animation was really cool, really interesting anime to watch, really. And he had the opening music, the opening song, which is really cool, that crazy, crazy rap song that turns into like a slow melodic thing, and then blah 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 da 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 da, like all that kind of stuff. So there is that, and so we're not gonna get any spoilers here. And so let me get into how I felt about episode 2 through 12 of Dan Da Dan. So here we go. Right. So Dan Da Dan episode 2 pretty much is on the same quality of episode 1, and I really feel like Dan Da Dan was on this hot streak. It was really going for it, where it was doubling down on the chaos and the mayhem of episode 1 to tell the story, to flesh everything out, and really kind of give the audience more to look forward to. Because, especially because I was watching these episodes week by week by week by week, I didn't like binge watch it or anything. I was getting really excited for every single episode that was coming out. So I was really interested to see where the story was going. And so then you get that, where I just felt like that is really cool, how this show just kept evolving its story. And the animation is really different. Like, I remember episode 2 actually being black and white for a while. And so they tried something a bit different there. And I feel like that alone is probably like an 8 or 9 out of 10. And so there was that. And then episode 3 was continuing the story. And I feel like episode 4 did the same thing, where these first 4 episodes really showed a lot of potential and really showcased to me this is actually quite a good anime, and I'm going to keep watching and find out what happens next to build. And that's what's really good about it, how you really, once you start watching a show weekly, you start to kind of remember it a lot more than whereas, binge watch the heck out of something, forget about it kind of thing. And so there's definitely that. And so when it got to episode 5, there was something really, really strange happening to this series, where it was like, did they really need to make this episode? Like, did they just fill that? Like, feel like they just filled in the gaps here, and they just had to find something to put out, because of course they had to put an episode out every Thursday, based on my time zone. Every Thursday the Dan to Dan episodes would drop, kind of thing. And so it just felt like with that episode, you didn't really get enough of like a story progression and enough new things happening in the storyline, so that once you get outside of episode 5, it brought you back to this point where episode 6 and 7 were telling a really good story, really fleshing out characters, really giving you a bit more lore behind everything. So there was that. And I would say with episode 5, the rating I'd give that was like a 5 out of 10. It was watchable, but it just didn't really do enough for me, to the point where I was like, okay, they're actually doing something even more amazing with Dan to Dan. So there's that. And then once you get there, right, once you get to episode 6 and 7, like I mentioned, they're really good. They flesh out characters and all that stuff, right? I feel like there they brought back the 8 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 energy. But then they decided to drop the ball so down the hill that you couldn't even grab it anymore. Like, it flew, like it actually went into the water. And so I'm making a bit of a weird analogy here, but it's kind of like this thing where you feel like something is going, it's at its all-time high, it's cranking everything up to 11, it's at its peak, it's at its prime. But then episodes 8 through 12 was the most, slap in the face, spit in the face, punch in the gut, absolute chaos, because it was like, really, what has actually happened to this series? Like, I don't really get the interesting energy that I grabbed from the other episodes, minus episode 5, but there was just a lot of episodes where they were actually consistent with the writing, really consistent with the characters and everything. But then you have episodes 8 through 12, and let me explain why I think a lot of this why a lot of this really happened, and this is because I feel like the show was trying to find ways to kind of, it just wasn't trying. I was trying to find ways to kind of repeat itself, is what I'm going to be honest about here. And the fact that it kind of kept going back to the same gimmicks over and over again, the same kind of tropes that you knew about Okarun and Momo Ayase and all that stuff. But then there's actually episodes in here, like episode 11, where they introduce this whole new character, this whole new storyline that kind of actually has nothing to do with the main two characters, but they force it, they kind of like shoehorn it into the story so that they can actually pump it out and they can make sure that it's actually coming out every week. And that was just kind of like, really, why would you just add a filler character to this storyline? So there was that. And so I would give episodes 8 through 12 like a solid 3.5 or a 4 out of 10. It just didn't really come off like an actual compelling plot where there was actually any progress, anything happening at all, really. And so honestly, I would actually say that Dan Da Dan is so done, because honestly I just don't know where else to take this review, really. Like, honestly, just it was got to this point, like I said, right, where it was just kind of like a really good show, but then it fumbled the bag entirely, and it just became the most uninteresting thing ever to watch. And the final episode literally leaves you on a really hard, harsh cliffhanger, where it was really weird and it just didn't make any sense. Not even the show could explain itself properly, like the last like the last like that run where that series of episodes where it was just going so well and so consistent. So yeah, I tried to make this a very, very fast paced, quick fire review. But I wanted to explain myself as well here. Like, I realised as I was recording this, like, I want to explain myself as well. And so that's my review of Dan to Dan. This is my honest review. And if you hate me for not liking this show that's being praised by everyone and their mother, then okay, but this is just my opinion, bro. So yeah, that's how I felt about the series. It's definitely a conflicting, mixed affair here, but honestly, it really just went from a masterpiece to a like massive colossal disaster. So yeah, that's my review. Bye 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 bye.